ENCOR Section 32 Summary Challenge, APIs in Cisco DNA Center and vManage. Which Cisco DNA Center API retrieves site hierarchy with network health information? Okay, so network health, network device detail, client health, and site hierarchy, and all of these are intent APIs. So, and we need to get the site hierarchy together with the network health information. There are a bunch of intent APIs under the common collection of, which is called Know Your Network. And there is definitely site hierarchy intent API there. But I think it's actually used primarily just to specifically focused on sites, right? So create sites, updates, delete sites, manage sites themselves, and manage device to site membership. So that's, I think, what site hierarchy API is about. Client health should not, it's not the correct option because here we are focusing on the network health. So it's between these two. It's either network health or network device detail. Is there such thing as network health intent API, or is it just network device detail? Yeah, I'm not sure about these two. It's probably network device detail. There is definitely network device detail API resource. That's for sure, because you can retrieve detailed information about any network device. However, we want to see site hierarchy. Okay. Okay, I think I will go with network health. I do not remember specifically if such API endpoint exists, but that sounds very, very plausible. Because site hierarchy is, I think, just primarily, as I said, about sites and their structure and site membership. Network devices, it focuses on specific devices. Yeah. So let it be network health intent API. I'm not sure about this answer though. Which option describes an industry standard API that the ONF defines? So ONF defines OpenFlow. So industry standard API, they are all kind of APIs, right? So there is OpenFlow, which is defined by ONF. Then there is netconf, which is defined by IETF. It's a IETF standard. And then there is OpFlex, which is an open standard. So what I can recall that OpenFlow is primarily, it's very detailed, right? So it's imperative, and it assumes the role of control plane, and it pushes very specific imperative detailed instructions to the data plane devices. As yeah, and it kind of manipulates the forwarding flow forwarding tables data like that, and it actually doesn't do any device configuration itself, and it relies on netconf to do that. As opposed to OpFlex is declarative. So the idea is these devices, the data plane devices, they have more brain power in them, and they have a certain control plane with a larger scope, which means that these data plane devices can make their own decisions. And what OpFlex does, it pushes just a higher level declaration of what should be done, and it leaves up to the devices control plane themselves to figure out how specifically implement that. So anyway, the answer to this question is OpenFlow. Which action used by Cisco DNA Center Intent API writes new data at the path that the URL specifies? Okay, action. So basically we have these 4 HTTP methods here, right? And we have a path specified by URL, which means there is a resource identified in this request. So the question is, what writes the new data? That should be post, right? Because put edits existing resource, reads the resource, and deletes the resource. So that's just post here. Which Cisco DNA Center tool provides programmatic access to the discovery functionality of Cisco DNA Center? I think that should be Network Discovery API, as simple as that. I remember there is Network Discovery API. Yeah, so Command Runner API also exists, but it can be just used. It is typically just used to run an arbitrary command on a box. Template programming and path trace is used for path tracing. So Network Discovery, simple question, simple answer. Which of these is the correct URL format to issue a REST API call to vManage that retrieves a list of all devices in the network? Okay, interesting. So it should work on top of HTTPS. So these two are excluded right away. It's either /data service /device or just /device. List of all devices in the network. Well, this is probably something worth remembering, but I don't. I think there is no data service. Data service is probably used for something more specific, but just to retrieve the list of the devices, it should be /device. I'm not sure about this answer. Which Cisco DNA Center tool enables you to perform CRUD operations on templates and projects that the template programmer uses to facilitate design and provisioning workflows in Cisco DNA Center? Which Cisco DNA Center enables you to perform CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete operations on templates. That should be template programmer, right? However, I don't remember this specifically being pointed out in the course. Not Command Runner, not Path Trace. Task API. Task API is used when you make a request to the API server, and it starts processing this request, right? And it may take some time to process this request. You can use Task API to query the server, hey, is this task done yet, right? And that's how we use Tasks API. So if it's neither of these three, then that should be the correct answer, template programmer. And finally, which server return code indicates that the server accepted your request, but it must perform other actions in order to complete the request? It should be 202 accepted. Yeah, so OK is just everything is fine. 201 is typically a response to create a post request that a resource has been successfully created. 206 partial content means there is some data which is being sent back to the client in response to their request. And this data only contains partial content. So that should be 202 accepted. Okay, there are two errors I will review and check where I made mistakes. All right, so the first mistake is in question number 1, where I was not that much certain about the answer. Which Cisco DNA Center API retrieves the site hierarchy with network health information? Apparently, it's site hierarchy intent API, which is a little bit confusing because I was checking the course material, and in the course material, it says about the sites resource under Know Your Network API domain, and it says nothing about health of the network here. It's just about create, manage sites, assign devices to sites, as I said, obtain site information. Well, maybe health is inside here, but it's not that explicit. A site count, site membership, right? Sites are hierarchical collections of other sites and buildings. There is also this site management, the whole API domain. It's used to design, provision network functions, and so on. So again, nothing here is said about network health. So it was a little bit tricky question, I guess, not necessarily very explicitly explained in the course. And one another was, so this is fine, and network discovery, yeah. So this was another one, question 5. I made a mistake here. The correct URL here, /data service /device. I checked the course, and actually with the vManage API, apart from the first authentication, you use /jsecurity check. All subsequent requests, at least those which are covered in the course, they start with the data service. Data service /device is here. And in all further examples which we have in the course, it is always /data service and then something, right? It always starts with data service URL. So that's why this is the correct answer. vManage API address /data service /device.